So I'm here on the main line at the Ogallie Scenic Railway, and today we're going to talk a little bit about curved track. Every railroad has curved track. It seems like due to our topography here on the railroad, we seem to have more curved track than most. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about it and kind of show you and tell you about how we lay this curved track. First of all, we're using 40-pound rail, and so it's kind of easy to work with because it's not real heavy. One of the things about railroad track that some people may know is that it's kind of like spaghetti when you try to maneuver it. So you can bend it, you can get it to do a lot of things that you wouldn't think you would without a whole lot of effort. And so first of all, the title of this video talks about bending the rail, and it talks about curving the rail. And so there are rail benders out there that the real railroads use to bend rail. And when they do that, they put a permanent kink in the rail so that it can, for some specific purpose, so it can never really be used again for anything other than that purpose. And we'll show you a shot of a switch where a rail bender was used to permanently kink the rail. Now when we lay this rail, we don't kink it. We just pull it into where we need it to go. And if we were to let go of it or disassemble it, it would go right back to its straight configuration again. The rail that we're using on the front part of our railroad, the part that we've pretty much completed now, is all 1890s rail. And so a lot of it was laid on curves in Colorado. So some of the rail does retain those curves to a degree. It doesn't like to go back to a perfectly straight, state, I guess you could say. And so even though that's the case, you can still get it back to and use it as a straight track. Once you get the track laid down, if it's curved in any way, and you ballast your track, put ballast on top, put ballast on the ends of the ties, and then you can come into the forklift or a bucket or whatever, and you can still straighten that rail back out again. And we're going to be showing you that in a future video. It's called lining the rail. And we haven't done a rail lining video yet, but we will. And so when we lay this rail, the first thing we do, obviously you have two rails here, but we always lay the inside of the curve first. And then we take the outside rail and pull it to that. Otherwise you're trying to stuff the rail into a corner, which is very, very hard to do. And so doing it this way makes it quite easy. So if I was going to take this rail right here and try to pull it into a curve, I would connect this rail to the rest of the track, but I wouldn't be pulling on this rail to curve it. I would connect another piece on the other end of it and pull that piece into a curve, which then pulls this piece to where you want it. And that way you've got a lot more control. That's kind of the secret of our track laying here, is when you do a curve, you don't curve the rail you're curving, you curve the next rail. And then that pulls this rail in, and then you just keep working it down from there. So the first thing you would do is lay this rail down and maybe do 2 sections on this one side, the way I described it. And then you would start back there and pull the outside rail to it, 1 rail at a time, using basically the same technique. And then you'd have rail gauges here to keep the gauge, and you would also have clamps, as you've seen in previous videos. So that's kind of the secret to this. And what we usually do is we will use we just take a 4-wheeler with a winch on it, hook the winch up to the end of the rail, and we just pull it into the curve, spike it down, and then move on to the next section. And then once this is spiked with those ties spaced at 2 foot on center like they are, that curve will pretty much hold its shape until you get the outside rail in. And if it doesn't, you can always pull it again. So that kind of tells you how we do our curves. So now we're just going to take a few minutes here and show you some of the curves on the railroad and give you a little tour of that. So that's a little view of some of the curves on our railroad. It kind of shows you what we were up against when we put them in. We've kind of explained a little bit more about how we install those curves. And we will get some video of that coming up here real soon. We've got some large sweeping curves on the north side of the railroad that we'll be videotaping real shortly, along with some more track laying. So don't forget to smash the like button if you like our content and subscribe. And we will see you on the next one.